Are you guys feeling any amount of pressure?
No pressure, but a lot of hunger. Like a lot of hunger to be great.
This is the energy right here. This is the approach every day. Every day is a championship day.
And that's going to be our DNA to where when people drive up to Bank of America Stadium, they know they're in for a dogfight.
I don't care about what we can't do. What can we do? Who are these players that we have, and how are we going to maximize those strengths on a daily basis?
We want players with grit. We want players like Steve Smith.
Makes the grab, touchdown!
I'm going to bet on us. I love a great challenge.
And that's our goal, is to roll up our sleeves and find those type of players that are going to help us get back to home playoff games.
Be loading, loading.
What's going on, Panther Nation? What's going on? It's your man CW with you, coming with another live, getting ahead of the combine, coming here in 2 weeks, man. We got a special guest joining me and Uncle Quan tonight, man. Definitely appreciate him pulling up with us, man. But before we get into it, as we always say, share the video, hit the like button, leave a comment for us. And if you are new to the channel, definitely subscribe to the channel for us, man. Let's go ahead and bring our guy, our co-host, Uncle Quan, up to the channel, man. What's going on, Quan?
What's up, everybody? What be going on, man? It's your boy Q, a.k.a. Uncle Quan. You already know how we do it over here. What's up, Doug, man? If you are not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do so, man. Go ahead and hit that notification bell while you are at it as well. If you guys want to see more videos like this, man, we're about to break it down. Doug done told y'all already we got a special guest up in the building, man. It's about to be a great show tonight. Go ahead and hit that like button while you are in here, man. Go ahead and get us on the good side of the algorithm, man. So let's go ahead and get this thing popping.
Yes, sir, man. Before I bring this man on, me and Quan had the opportunity to meet him during training camp, vibe with him, and definitely been talking to him behind the scenes. I definitely appreciate him joining us tonight to go ahead and talk about a couple of options that we do have at our second round, 33rd pick. So no other than Dunc from Unnecessary Bluntness. Go ahead and pull him up on the channel, man. What's going on, Dunc?
What up, dog? What's going on, fellas?
Yes, sir, man. Tell the people what's up, Dunc.
Man, what's up, everybody, man? It's checking in. Aaron Duncan, you guys know, from Unnecessary Bluntness Sports Talk. You can follow me on Twitter at Dunc on Demand. Shout out to people in the chat, Derek B. But I'm excited, man. It's the offseason now. Everybody's 0-0 officially. I done turned the page. You know what I'm saying? I done turned the page on this past season. We 0-0. Vegas got us as the furthest odds to get to the Super Bowl. But,
sir,
I mean, it is what it is. We have the games ain't won on paper, so we still got work to do.
Yes, sir, man. Like Dunc said, as we know, the Super Bowl was Sunday. The page has been turned. Everybody's getting ready to head to Indianapolis for NFL Combine. You already had the Senior Bowl. You already had the Shrine Bowl. Now it's time for your scouting department to figure out what holes can you draft players to help your roster. Yes, free agency does come before the draft, but that's where you actually build your team is through the draft. You can get a splash player here and there in free agency, but again, building your culture, building your team is through the draft, man. So we got a couple of options that we're going to talk about. I appreciate Quan and Dunc definitely giving me a couple of names that they have done research on, and we're going to give you 5 options that we all think could possibly be there when it comes to pick number 33. We have not traded up as the Panthers have not done. We have not traded back. That could be an option. But if we do stay put at 33, we're going to get a wide receiver at that pick possibly. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through each player, show a little highlight reel, then dissect the player, what the pros and cons that we like about a particular player, and then we'll talk about the top free agent wide receivers that are out there and try to match up our drafted wide receiver that we would like with one of the wide receivers that are free agent. And then we're going to talk about Brandt Tilis, a tough job that he has to do going into free agency with 3 key defensive pieces that we need to bring back on the defense, man. So the first player that we're going to talk about tonight is Tez Walker out of the University of North Carolina. Our guy Dunc has already did a breakdown on his channel over there about Tez Walker. So, again, if you have not checked that video out, definitely hit his link over there at Unnecessary Bluntness and check him out and show him some love and let him know that you definitely appreciate the content, man. So let's go ahead and look at this Tez Walker reel right here. Again, fellas, we're going to play the reel if you want to speak. While it's going, go ahead. But again, let's go ahead and check out Tez Walker's highlights right here.
Joshua Pickett was there, and Drake May dropped another one in the bucket.
Get off the line of scrimmage against Carlton Johnson.
He's gone.
Get it up.
The ball allowed him to recover.
Yep. Brought him into the play. But
Third touchdown of the night.
So as I was saying, as you can see right there, he had a critical drops, had multiple drops throughout the Senior Bowl. And for me, Tez is really that home run hitter. And he did not display that when he was actually at the Senior Bowl this past, I think a week ago. And for him, I thought he was a short-handed wide receiver, but I was definitely shocked the way he was strapped up and he was not able to get loose based off route concepts. He was beating corners out of breaks and beating them down the field, but could not finish the play. So for me, I think Tez, I'm not going to talk long because, again, I can go on and on about Tez being a Tar Heel. But for me, I'm really shocked that Tez did not have a great showing in the Senior Bowl. He is going to be at the Combine in Indianapolis. Hopefully he can do great in drills and do good in timing. But it's really going to come down to how good do people really think is he in the developmental stage, or can he come in and be a starter for Carolina? What you got, Quan or Dunc?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and start with the pros, man. Doug already mentioned to you guys that Dunc did drop a video recently on Tez Walker's scouting report, man. I got a chance to check that out. Dunc mentioned that he has overwhelming speed, and I do agree with that, man. He got a 4.4 40 time, and he was Drake May's best target. He's very electric in space. Obviously, he's a deep threat, and he got some really solid hands, man. He actually had a display against Miami where he put up 146 yards and 11 receptions and a tutty, man. So this guy definitely has the big playmaking ability. However, I'm going to move over to the cons. This is not my favorite prospect because I just don't believe that he has what it takes to be a number one receiver. In the Senior Bowl, I mean, he showed you who he is. Doug mentioned that he was strapped up, that he couldn't really, create separation and finish at the top of his routes. That's kind of something that we have been seeing in film. This is a guy who really just beats guys with his speed. He doesn't really have that like fancy technique. His route running ability doesn't really impress me personally, man. I don't really see sharp cuts in and out of his breaks. This is a guy who kind of rounds off a lot of his routes, and he really just relies a lot on his speed to get past the defender. So I don't know, man. I think he could be a solid role player. Maybe you get like a number one. He could probably be like a number two option, maybe number three. And I think he could, give you that vertical ability to stretch the field. But I don't see him being a number one. I don't see him being like a dominant receiver in the NFL. But I do like his upside. I do think you can bring him in and develop him as a receiver. But it's all going to depend on the system that he lands in, really.
Yeah, 100%. The system is going to matter. We see that time and time again because a lot of folks were knocking Rashee Rice last year because of he couldn't separate or he wasn't this, that, and the third. But he was a long, lanky, fast receiver. He was a deep threat too. That's the funny thing about it. He was not like Tez, in my opinion, but he didn't really show yards at the catch like that. But like that was the name of his game in Kansas City. So system really matters, and you can see a rookie like him. I mean, you go to the right spot, they have a vision for you. You can do your thing. Now, my thing on Tez, and I think a lot of people have cooled off now because of the Senior Bowl and just like temper expectations. But when I did my scouting of him, I really didn't see what a lot of people were seeing because a lot of people were floating him as an option at 33. I saw Daniel Jeremiah talking about him going in the first. I just thought that was kind of asinine for a guy that needed that much work. Now, when you get a guy in the first round, you want a guy that's going to be able to come in and make an impact right away. And that's not really what Tez can do. He will make an impact. I think from day one, once he gets off the bus, he's going to be able to take the top off of a defense just because this dude is ridiculously fast. Like Quan said, the speed is literally overwhelming. If you don't get hands on him at the line of scrimmage and rough him up like they were doing at the Senior Bowl, it's over. And you can see one of those clips where he got kind of underthrown. He did it. That's exactly what he did. He blew by the first defender. He wasn't even there. Right. And if it went for the underthrow pass, the dude wouldn't have caught up to him. But Tez, he just has a lot of refinement that needs to go into him as being like a pro receiver. I guess like there's a lot of nuances of playing receiver that he just doesn't have. And a lot of that stuff can be trained and built up, but how much time does it take? Like, what role are you going to be in? Will they need you to be a wide receiver 1 right away? Will they need you to be a wide receiver 2 right away? Coming to Carolina, I think the type of people that we need, he wouldn't be exactly what we need, just because we need somebody that can come in, one, make an impact and really, really boost and lift our offense. You don't have to come in and be wide receiver 1 right away, but we need somebody that's going to lift, you know what I'm saying, to get our wide receiver group from below average to at least average. I think Josh Norris from Underdog Fantasy said that we need to get average in a lot of positions. We're below average a lot of places. If we just get up to average this offseason, we'll be a lot more competitive, because there was a lot of games that we were in, but it's just sometimes the offense, being the last ranked offense, really, really weighed the team down. But as far as Tez, I think I didn't really, on film, his hands really weren't like you said, it wasn't his hand. He seemed pretty sure-handed. Like some of those catches on the sideline, he just has a weird ability to come up with 50-50 balls and get his feet down at the same time, like without a lot of room. So I really saw these type of drops on film. So I really think he was just in his head at the Senior Bowl. And then drops are more like, they can be, once one happens, it's easier for it to happen because you're in your head, you're thinking about it, you catch the ball naturally a lot of times, and then when you drop one, you're on this big stage, everybody and their mama watching at home on NFL Network, every scout and their intern is there in Mobile. You feel a lot of pressure, you know what I'm saying? And granted, you want somebody to be able to perform under pressure, but this is it's one of the biggest processes for a lot of these guys' lives. These guys they're trying to live out their dream in the NFL. So like there's a lot of pressure to perform in these scenarios. So I don't really think the drops are a big concern for me for Tez, but a lot of the nuances, because you can be fast. That's fine. Being fast and be able to blow by guys is an asset. But what's the point of having good acceleration if your deceleration is not good? Right. If I'm threatening you, like you want to be able to threaten guys deep with that speed, and then better boom, snap it off on the stop route and turn around. They're playing so far off of you, you're gonna have extra cushion to turn around and make a play. Time and time again for him, he takes too long to slow down, and by the time he slows down and gets out of his routes, the defense has recovered and closed that cushion, and it defeats the whole purpose of having that speed to threaten deep. So I think he's a work in progress. I comped him to Mike Wallace. I thought that North Carolina used him wrong. I thought they should have used him a lot more on drag routes and stuff, not just shooting them deep all the time. It could have had something to do with him coming into the season late, even though he practiced with them. But I still think there's a lot of things that Tez can do right away that he didn't show on tape. But I still think there's some like I said, fine tuning some of the nuances of playing wide receiver is what Tez is going to have to work on. And that may be a year, that may be 2 years. He may figure it out as he goes. If you put him as wide receiver 3, he's going to have a solid year for you. If he comes in, you need him to be that number 2 guy right away, or even a number 1, you're probably going to be in trouble.
So for me, again, being a Tar Heel, I really thought Tez should have stayed. Dunc alluded to him not starting was due to transfer, compliance. And I think with him missing games, I think it was kind of rushed, like, hey, I did a decent year and Drake May was my quarterback. Let me take advantage of it. But again, me being a Tar Heel fan, I do think we just really used him for vertical. We never used him in the slot. We never used him as a number 2, a drag, anything in the middle. It was straight vertical routes for Tez in that particular offense underneath. I cannot think our offensive coordinator. I just went blank for Carolina. But what I'm looking at it is, I was going to ask the comparison. Dunc already gave a comparison to Tez Walker's play style. Quan, did you have a player comparison for Tez, or you didn't have one particular for him?
I would say I think I told you this off screen. I think he reminds me of like a DJ Chark, really, specifically because of his speed, but his lack of ability to create separation off of press coverage. But I don't know, man. I would go with DJ Chark for now. So I don't know, man. I don't know. That kind of get a little tricky, but that's my reasoning for comparing him to Chark.
Okay. like I said, I mean, that's the first of many. He's not high on my list. I think Dunc has already said he's not high on his list, and Quan just alluded to it. Right now, he's not high on his list. So, I mean, again, I would love for us to draft him, but it doesn't need to be a reach. We do not need to reach for a wide receiver. You still do have free agency, and there are other wide receivers that are at a different tier than Tez Walker. So for me right now, if you're saying that C-Doug at 3, at 33, are you taking Tez Walker? I'm saying no. That's a hard no for me right now. Later in the rounds, maybe 3rd or 4th round, if he's still there, yes, but not right now. It's definitely a no for me.
Yeah, if he's there, I put out a video a while ago on Twitter saying that he was late day 3, and people looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, late day 2, like I was crazy, and I was like, I just don't see him being able to push that. And then even seeing Dan Jeremiah talking first round, I thought that was crazy. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, they know more than me. I've never been to the NFL. They've been doing it longer than me. But I just didn't see him being like him needing that much of fine tuning to go in the first round. You want guys that are going to come in and help you right away. That's what you typically want in the first round. And I just don't see it for Tez. But somebody will get him. He'll have a role, like you said. Like I said, they didn't use him like you said in North Carolina. But like I said, Rashee Rice, he wasn't used like he was used in Kansas City. But he's got a ring now, and he was a wide receiver 1 pretty much by the end of the year. So it's about coaching, man. Coaching matters.
All right, let me tell a couple people in our chat what's going on. What's going on, Derek B? Definitely appreciate you pulling up. I got Austin Wright. Said, what's up, Doug? What's up, Quan? What's up, Dunc? What's up, AJ? Be safe on that road. Our other co-hosts over here at What's Up, Doug? And 2 fans in the stands. CJ, definitely appreciate you for pulling up and supporting, man.
CJ, what up?
Yes, sir. What's good, fam?
All right, so our second draftee that we're looking at is Troy Franklin out of Oregon. Also, let me tell you what Tez is. Well, I ain't going to tell you Tez. I'll tell you what Troy Franklin, before we show his highlights. For 2023 season, he had 81 receptions, 1,383 yards, and 14 touchdowns. Average per reception was 17.1. So here is Mr. Troy Franklin.
All right, he came over to take this position, getting to work with Nicks. This pass, beautiful, and it's Troy Franklin. Look at that speed. Phil Knight has already signed him up.
Easy of a pitch and catch. Look at a little double stutter and go. Franklin has called Xavier.
6'3" receiver running a fade route. Look at the speed off of the ball.
All right, and that's Mr. Troy Franklin, man. The one thing for me with Troy, you see explosiveness and speed. Speed. Like, one thing we all cried about as Panther fans were we didn't have any separation. You didn't have anybody that can take the top off the offense and just get past DBs. One thing Troy Franklin has is elite speed. As you see it in the very first highlight when they played against USC, he basically called a drag, I want to say, and then just took it to the house. Or you can call it a post. But for me, I really think Troy Franklin is a true, legit option at number 33. If you look at the wide receivers that we have on the roster, outside of Adam Thielen and Mingo, who has speed like Troy Franklin? Nobody. Zero. And just imagine the 3 names that we just named, Bryce Young already has more options right now just by adding Troy Franklin. We're not even talking about free agency. Just by drafting, if Troy Franklin's there at number 33, you have helped Bryce Young with a person that can take the top off the offense. So for me, I definitely have a comparison, but I'm going to let Duncan, Quan, go ahead and tell us what they think about Troy Franklin, and I'll give you my player comparison for Mr. Troy Franklin.
Go ahead, Dunc.
My comp, I will say my comp because my comp might be a little bit fuzzy.
You gonna go with you gonna go with comp first? Because I'll give you mine if you're gonna give yours.
Nah, I'll save it. I'll save it. I'll save it. But I'm looking at my notes over here because I've done a deep dive on the receiver group, but Franklin, man, I like Troy's game. It's easy to like his game. It really looks like a track meet. Like he glides, bro. Like when he gets out of there, bro. Like he has somewhere to be. Like you said, that first clip, you can just see him get out of there, dog. So I really like Troy's the elements of his game. That not just the deep threat ability, but the yards after catch. We talked about Tez before about not being able to use your speed to snap off underneath routes. That's the complete opposite of Troy Franklin. Troy Franklin, he's twitchy like that, where he's gonna sell it to make you feel like, okay, I got to get on my horse. But as soon as you do that and you get your head turned upfield, bow, he's snapping it off, coming back on the crossing route or a curl or a comeback or out route and making you look silly. You're probably going to keep running a couple more yards before you realize Brett has broken it off and turned around. So I really like Troy's ability to really translate that speed into that. Now, the thing about Troy, as far as just negatives, is physicality. He's very rarely like he's thin. I don't know if it's real. 185 pounds.
Here, I'll tell you. I got
178 is what I see at 6'2",
6'3", 187.
Yeah, and that's probably, as we've seen, those school rosters really build up your numbers. We saw it. We're going to talk about Legette a little bit later. It was a little bit of a deflation of him going from 6'3" to 6'1". So we'll see at the combine what he's in. Hopefully, I don't know where he's going to be at. I wouldn't sacrifice speed for him to try to gain weight. We'll see what he wants to do. He may try to put some nickels in his pocket or something to weigh a little bit heavier. But if some people have him at 180. You know what I'm saying? And that's crazy. But my only knock on him is just the play strength. Like, to be a number one wide receiver in this league, you need to be able to go through the middle. You need to be able to play through contact. You need to be able to, if a guy gets hands on you, get those hands off of it. We saw it in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs have those long, lengthy corners. They're going to play man coverage. They're going to get in your face. They're going to try to bump you around. Yes, there's flags and penalties in place that can negate some of that downfield contact, but you still going to have to be able to play through that stuff, you know what I'm saying, and really make plays. And that's where Troy gets in trouble. He can be neutralized at the line of scrimmage with press coverage, and it really just throws him off completely. If you stay in his hip pocket for most of the routes, it neutralizes that speed completely, because if you lean on him, he can't run away from you that fast. If you win early, you can win the whole route on Troy. So for him coming to Carolina, I think 33 is a real option as well, but I think it's going to have to do a lot with what we do in free agency. We will need to get a wide receiver one in free agency for me to feel comfortable with Troy coming in at day one, because I don't see Troy being a wide receiver one from day one. I think if he figures some things out, he can blossom into that, but I think his skill set would be perfect for a complementary piece in this offense as a wide receiver two, but I do not see him being a wide receiver one, especially for us. I love it. It's flashy. We do need that speed, but I'm not sure of the fit as well with us, because I'm going to be real. I love Bryce Young like everybody else. People call me a homer or truth or whatever, but I just don't see Bryce Young's skill set matching up with Troy completely. I see Troy going like Buffalo, a team that's a vertical passing offense that really pushes the ball down the field to really take advantage of his skill set. Not saying that Bryce can't throw deep. It's just that Josh Allen, similar to Drake May, can let that thing ride downfield on another level like most guys can. That's kind of their strength and what their offenses try to do. That's not really what our offense is going to do. You can still get chunk plays and big plays. We're going to go deep ever so often, but Bryce Young is not rearing back and throwing 60 yards off his back foot like Josh Allen. Let's just call a spade a spade. So I think Troy would be better in that type of system. And like I said, I'll save my comp for whenever you guys go. But go ahead, Quan.
Hey, hold on real quick, Quan. I'm gonna read the chat real quick talking about Troy Franklin. Derek B said them double moves Franklin got go crazy.
Yeah.
Our guy AJ said, what about AD Mitchell? He is one of the wide receivers we're gonna talk about later. And I appreciate Justin Mobb saying Devontae Smith is a comp for Troy Franklin. So go ahead, Quan.
Hey man, shout out to Derek B in the chat. He said, "Woo wee." Hey, facts, man. That's really my first reaction when I did my homework on this guy, man. I don't watch a lot of college ball, so I'm not nearly as credible as these two on the panel right here. So when I did my homework and I'm looking at Troy Franklin, he really blew my mind when I was watching the film. I mean, yeah, he got crazy speed as you saw on display just now, man, with that highlight reel that Doug put together. I mean, I think he's clocking at like a 4.3, somewhere around there, 4.3, somewhere 4.35, 40 time. That's faster than guys like Jalen Hyatt, you know what I'm saying, Jalen Waddle, Jordan Addison, guys like those who clocked at a 4.4 with Jalen Hyatt, Jalen Waddle clocked at a 4.37, and Jordan Addison clocked at a 4.49. So, I mean, to have speed that's faster than those guys who obviously are having an impact in the NFL right now, that's crazy. But what impresses me the most about Troy Franklin is not his speed, but it's the awareness of spacing on his routes. So if a route, let's say if a route breaks down, let's say a quarterback is in a scramble drill, he has that spatial awareness to find holes in zone and make himself available. And I think that's really something that we need with Bryce Young. Bryce Young thrived with that type of style in Alabama when he was able to improvise. And I think Franklin, early on in his career, I think he's only 21. He's already having an understanding of just the spacing of his routes and how to get open. And I think that could be very important as far as this offense go, man. And obviously he got that yak ability, something else that we need. I mean, he got that breakaway speed, and this is also a guy who can play in the slot too. You can play him at the X spot, or you can put him in the slot, and I think he'll be just as effective right there. So, again, this is a guy that's very impressive. But of course, just like any prospect, man, there are some downfalls. Dunc mentioned earlier, he's a very lanky guy. This is a guy I would compare to Robbie Anderson as far as a frame go. Robbie Anderson is 6'3", 185 as
comp,
well.
bro.
So, yeah, you know what I mean? So, I mean, yeah, he's pretty small. So there's some injury concerns. Obviously, you don't want your wide receiver getting banged up early in his career. So maybe he could bulk up. I don't know the solution right there. But there's another thing about him, and he also had a 10% drop rate in the 2 years that he was at Oregon. That is a concern. Yeah, you do got a nice catch radius. You can make some big catches, but when it matters the most, we need you to snag that thing down. And that 10% drop rate, it does concern me. However, he kind of followed up with a really good 2023 season. Doug already mentioned that he had over 1,300 yards, which was sixth most amongst the wide receivers, and he had 14 touchdowns, which was third most. So he has that explosive ability, but Dunc brought up a good point, man. And I don't know if he's going to be able to fit the scheme that we do have. Yeah, he could create, separation with yards at the catch. That is something that we need here. However, he would be more fit to like what Dunc mentioned. He said he'd be more fit to like a Buffalo type of style, or maybe even like a Kansas City, or another gunslinger like Joe Burrow or somebody like that. Baltimore, exactly. Somebody where you can throw that thing down the field and let him just do the rest, man. And I think Bryce Young, yeah, like Dunc said, man, Bryce Young is not like a drop back, throw that thing 60 yards down the field. Nah, he's the kind of quarterback that can get it out of his hands quickly. And I think Troy Franklin can thrive in that system, yes, but I don't think we should limit him to just that. I think he's a vertical threat down the field. So as far as us getting him, that could be tricky. I'm not gonna complain, but that could be tricky with him being in our system. And also another thing that Dunc mentioned, man, I don't know if he's like really a true number one. Is this another role player that we're looking at? I mean, yeah, he has great speed, he has great playmaking ability, but could he be outshadowed by another receiver depending on where he does land? Like I'm gonna go ahead and put my comp out there. I'm gonna compare him to Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison, obviously, he got a lot of speed. He has a great catching ability, but he's outshadowed over there by Justin Jefferson. Obviously, he's going to be a number two role player. That doesn't mean he's not effective. And depending on where Troy Franklin goes, I think he could be something similar to that. But yeah, with some development and just more experience in the NFL, I think he could develop to be a number one receiver. But coming out, I don't think he's going to be an immediate number one.
All right, for me, let me read what Derek B said. And again, if anybody is in the chat and you want to leave a comment for us, we are going to commentate, but we're going to read your comment as well. He said, if Canales gets his hands on Franklin, we might see something special. I'm going to relate that to Palmer. If you look at the wide receiver that they got this past draft later in the rounds. If you're looking at a wide receiver like that, you don't have to draft him as your first draft pick because of what Scott Fitter did. And now you're in draft hell, that we say, where you're not actually able to, have a first round pick. But my comparison is Marquise Brown, another wide receiver that you have as a free agent. He's a speedster, and basically he's not as light as Robbie Anderson, but he's elusive. He can take the top of the offense. And I do like Robbie Anderson. I didn't think about Robbie Anderson because if you do look at Troy Franklin's frame, he's very thin. Like Dunc said, he's very thin. But again, I do like Marquise Brown for my comparison for Mr. Franklin. But I would take him at 33 if he is available based off of what we do in free agency. What you got?
Yeah. No, my comp is Derek B and Quan mentioned as well. Robbie, you mentioned too, Robbie is my comp as far as just the ability to get downfield, the thin frame, the speed element of it, the lack of play strength at times to play through contact that can be frustrating for them. But also I like the Devontae Smith comparison as well, just because I think as far as route running, he's a little bit, but not a little bit. He's a pretty wide margin, in my opinion, in his route running ability compared to Robbie Anderson. And I would compare that part to Devontae. I think Devontae is just a little bit smoother of an athlete than Troy. But Troy seems a lot more twitchy. And when you think about the word twitchy compared to Devontae, but I really see the comparisons there. Like I said, it's just the speed difference between Devontae and Troy is my issue. And Quan brought up a good point, and I forgot to bring it up, the catching. And it's not like he can't catch the ball. The drop rate isn't anything like he just can't catch. It's concentration drops. I'm looking at outside shoulder, I'm wide open. I just not even taking my eyes off of it. I just don't track the ball well. I lose track of it. It goes through my hands. It's elementary, like you're trying to get a feel, like simple stuff like that. You don't want to overthink on certain things like that. But when you're a deep threat like that and you see him on film track the ball well, he just doesn't squeeze it when it gets to his hands. It's like, bro, you're leaving meat on the bones. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially when you have that potential to really turn the game wide open with your speed, you got to actually turn the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can be deflating at times when you see that type of stuff. So the hands are something that you definitely gotta kind of worry about with Troy. But like I say, I like him. I like him better than Tez, just to be honest. But I wouldn't complain. Like he's like, I would complain about him being a Panther. But I just think as far as fit, I think there would be better moves to make on that front.
All right, let me read what CJ just said from two fans in the stands. He said, if we do get him, can the coaches scheme to his strengths? That goes for whoever they may get. Like I said, I mean, we're going to go through the draftees. Then we're going to compare it to the NFL free agents. And then we're going to give you one from the list that we provided with 5 draftees and one from the list of NFL free agents. So,
hey, real quick, if I want to answer
Quan.
that question. First of all, shout out to Two Fans, man. If you're not subscribed to Two Fans, y'all go ahead and check out that channel over there, man. A great channel over there. They just passed 1,000 subscribers. They're growing every day, man. So y'all go ahead and show them some love over there, man. But shout out to my guy CJ. He asked if we do get him, can the coaches scheme to his strengths? And I'm gonna go ahead and say yes. I do believe that they could. Dave Canales obviously has a history of working as a wide receivers coach, and he brought over his wide receivers coach from Tampa Bay to be the offensive coordinator. So I don't know. I mean, you got a lot of experience with receivers
on his coaching staff, correct?
Not only receivers but successful receivers in this league. So if you do bring in a Troy Franklin, you obviously know his strengths are his speed. So I think he could scheme up a way for him to get open. I mean, I think he would use him a lot. I did do a film breakdown recently on the channel where I saw Dave Canales use his speedster guys in a unique way, using a lot of motion and throwing a lot of different looks at the defense. So if we do go Troy Franklin route, I do think Dave Canales could probably scheme to his strengths. That's just the hope in me, though.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, it just depends, again, how we attack free agency, and based off of the wide receiver that we bring in the free agency is really going to let you know what type of wide receiver we're looking at in the draft. You're not going to double down. And that's one thing Quan and I talked about yesterday when we were prepping for this, they're not going to get two of the same. And some of these wide receivers that we're going to talk about are two in the same. But it depends on, like you said, the scheme. What type of scheme is Dan Canals going to bring? And that's where we're going to go into our next one. Unless, Dunc, did you have another point you need to bring up about Troy Franklin?
No, I agree with CJ. For two fans, like whoever we get we need to play to their strengths. That's my point that Bryce Young really doesn't have the skill set to complement Troy Franklin's full strengths and ability. So I just don't see it being a fit. Unfortunately, I love Troy's game, but for us, I just don't see it being the best option just because we won't be able to fully take advantage of his strengths. That's just me.
So another wide receiver about to jump into is representing the other Carolina and Xavier Legette. If you look at it, like Dunc said, a lot of people thought his measurements were going to be better, but when he was at the Senior Bowl, they did not turn out what everybody thought they were going to be. But before we get to his highlight reel, stats for 2023 were 71 receptions, 1,255 yards, 7 touchdowns, and average per catch were 17.7. And I think a lot of people were looking at that during the season, meaning in the college season, that we should draft Legette because he's a big body receiver. But if you look at it now, again, he's 2 inches shorter than what everybody made it to be. So let's go ahead and get into his highlight reel. Yeah. Yeah.
20 had a long day.
Yeah, he did. Allen had a long day. That's my boy.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, this is crazy.
Yes.
Man, his stride is crazy, man.
Yeah. He runs like violent, like he pumping. It's so hard.
Exactly.
I love this one right here. When they do the side, I love this one right here.
That tiptoe.
Yeah, that tiptoe, man.
So he run like Pacheco.
Yeah, Pacheco run like he just want to fight, man.
CJ said he run like Pacheco.
And I actually want you guys to look at this last one. His catch against Georgia was just mind-blowing. Mm-hmm. Mind-blowing.
He had one just like that at a Senior Bowl practice during the team period as well, right on the sideline.
Yeah. So for me, one thing CJ said, strong runner. That's what, he's physical. He is a physical type wide receiver. Again, I didn't like the metrics at the Senior Bowl. It didn't hurt him for me with stock-wise, but strong runner. Can definitely, as we saw in 3 of those clips, high point the ball. That's one thing that I really enjoy seeing is him actually locking his eyes in for a ball coming that possibly could be tipped or a defender can get his hand in, and he was actually able to high point the ball at a certain angle. Like we said, angry runner almost reminds you of a running back in a wide receiver's body. Like the stride, like Quan said, stride was definitely there as well, man. I really can't wait to say my comparison. What's going on, Monet, man? I really can't wait to say my comparison, but I'm going to let Quan and Dunc go into it because my comparison is kind of different because of the size, but he definitely reminds me of this particular 2 wide receivers that got drafted out of the same class when they were in the NFL draft. Go ahead and Dunc or Quan.
You can take it away, Dunc.
Yeah, the thing that pissed me off about Panthers fans is like they keep comparing this man to Jonathan Mingo, and it really is not it's not even that at all, man. Like just because he's 6'1", 220 something, and runs like that, it just and he dark skin, he's not Mingo. Like, please stop. Like it's really getting on my nerves. And I may be a little bit defensive because I favor the Gamecocks. I'm not a big college fan, but I lean to the Gamecocks. But at the same time, the height factor, it was a little bit disappointing per se because it is what it is. But I'm not surprised. Like colleges, they inflate this stuff all the time. And I see somebody with an Anquan Bolden comp. That is a great comp that I never really thought about, but I I hadn't thought about that one, but I do like that comp. But the thing about Legette is it doesn't matter if he's not 6'3". Did he look 6'3" on the field? Did when you saw him jumping up and snagging on these dudes and climbing the ladder and playing big, did you think, dang, he looks like a small dude? He looks like he's 6'1", playing like he's 6'3". Nah, he looked that big. So if you still play big, it don't matter if you 5'11", 5'9", 5'8". If you playing in mossing dudes and getting up, climbing the ladder, making these type of plays, you play big, you play to whatever size that you were on paper. So what, you're not 6'3", 220 something when you're not DK Metcalf, because that was my initial comp. Still a little bit similar in my opinion.
Why you take my comp, man? That's
what people were saying. But once his height went down, so what? Let's say he turns into AJ Brown. That would be a better comp. Which is still fine.
That's why I said you had two wide receivers come from the same school, get drafted in the same draft. It was DK Metcalf and AJ Brown.
I didn't mean to rain in your parade, bro. About that. I was just name dropping. The folks I've seen me put out there. But but that's the thing, man. Like this dude, we saw him get up to somebody that's 228 pounds, where they say he got him on paper. They're not supposed to be able to run 23 miles per hour, which was on that one clip where he caught that drag. This is a dude that's huge. You can give him the pop pass. You can take him deep. He can run across the middle on drag routes, short routes. He is still improving at the receiver position because he just started playing receiver when he got to college. He was a quarterback in high school. If we want to talk about the lack of production, I don't care. I don't care about the lack of production up until this past year. You saw what he did in the SEC to corners at Georgia, who are probably going to be drafted on the first 2 days of the draft. You saw what happened there. Like, this dude can ball. Yeah, I mean, people want to talk about against Wiggins. He kind of got Wiggins got the best. I mean, Wiggins is a top flight corner as well. It was a battle on that front too. I think Legette still has a lot more upside because of that wide receiver. Just becoming a wide receiver. And I like Legette's game. I wouldn't mind him coming to Carolina. Will he be wide receiver 1 right away? I don't know, but I do think he has that upside just because, like I said, the upside is there because the time spent and that background at quarterback. So there's a little bit of knowledge and stuff there. And a lot of times those dudes are better tool to make that transition because they understand zones and routes and stuff like that. So I really like Legette. There are knocks on his game, obviously, because of he's a little bit stiff because he's that big, but I just think that he can sink his hips good enough. I think he showed that plenty at the Senior Bowl. He can be a little awkward sometimes down the field playing through contact just because of how big and methodical he is when he runs. But I still think, like I said, there's nuances that he's going to get better at time. And I think that he can because you can see the improvements. You see the stuff at the Senior Bowl that he was able to do and get in and out of breaks and separate there and even play through contact. That's another thing for me. Can you play through physical coverage? Because he could do that. And so that's kind of the biggest thing I have when I have concerns about guys transitioning, and either you can or can't do it, or it's going to take you some time. But if you've shown the signs that you can play through contact, I like you to be able to make an impact early on in your career. So I'm good on Legette. I'll say my comp. It ain't even really my comp. I saw somebody else do it, and I think I liked it, but I'll save it, even though I done dropped 4 different player names. It's fun, but I'll let Quan go at it before I spoil anything else.
All right, hold on real quick. Let me read a couple comments. I appreciate Mike pulling up. Mike Wynn said, we need Tilis to work his salary cap magic first. We're going to talk about Brandt Tilis to close out the show. CJ said he looked 5'1" when he was 30 yards ahead of the defenders. Mike Wynn also said, who's the white guy who's a spot-on route runner that owned DBs at the Senior Bowl? We need him. Our guy Dunc did a video on him yesterday. We're not going to name drop because he is our next wide receiver up. I see CJ already said his name, so we'll go ahead and say it is Lad McConkey. So we'll definitely be talking about him next. But go ahead, Quan. Go ahead and tell us your feelings about Mr. Xavier Legette.
Man, I'm not going to hold you. Xavier Legette is probably one of my favorite prospects out of the guys we're talking about tonight. Like y'all said, man, he's an angry runner. Somebody in the comments mentioned he run like Pacheco. Who said he ran like
CJ? CJ.
CJ, yeah, he said he run like Pacheco, man. I mean, he runs angry, and that's really something that I like about his run style, man. He got a thick frame, unlike the last couple of guys we've been looking at. So it makes it hard for them. You know, he's bouncing off of tackles like it's easy work. So that's one thing I really like about him, man. He got some big-time rack ability. Like we talked about his stride, man, he got a long stride game, pause. And he can really kill you with his speed, man. So Another thing about him, man, he got a massive catch radius. You saw that on display with the highlight reels in the beginning. But he got a massive catch radius, man. It looked like he can catch any kind of passes, even if it's inaccurate. He got the ability to control his body to really adjust to the catch, and I think that's something that's very valuable in this league, man. So, also, Dunc mentioned he's good in the intermediate game. I think that's something that can be crucial to Bryce's game. Obviously, he is one of those quarterbacks that is pretty good in the intermediate game coming out of college. So, if we're talking about playing to Bryce's strengths, I think Legette could fit in terms of the intermediate game, of course. And then, of course, you got he's a pretty good 50-50 ball guy too, man. When it's 50-50 against another defender, I think it really turns into like a 70-30 kind of chance, man. I mean, he's really, really good when it comes to high pointing the ball. So he got that, like, again, it's just kind of going back to that big catch radius. And then, of course, he had 6 games over 100 yards, including the game. It was 217, I believe, 217, somewhere around 220. 2 touchdown day against a Jacksonville State, man. So I think that's incredible to have over 6 in the same season. Then he had like 14 catches for over 30 yards. I think that's incredible too, man. Just again showing you that big play ability. But a lot of people question with him was this 1 year. I mean, we only seen 1 year out of his production in South Carolina where he pretty much put on display that he could play in the league. So how consistent can he be? Is he a 1 year wonder? We don't really know. He's an above average blocker. And I think that's something that can improve. I mean, if he develop in the right system, I think he can improve on his blocking. Also, there is questions about his injury. His injuries, they're asking, is he injury prone? We don't really know that. But yeah, and also given that he is, developing as a receiver, his route tree is pretty limited, but I think that can expand as well once he head into the league and start developing.
So, Quan, who is your NFL comparison for him?
This might be a reach. But I would say Deebo Samuel, just for the simple fact that he can really bounce off of tackles and he can use his speed to kill you as well. So I would compare him to Deebo.
Okay. I can see it a little bit. Dunc, what you got?
I saw somebody put this out there. Somebody said Dez Bryant, just because how violent he is after the catch, and his ability to go up. Dez wasn't super tall.
That's a good one, yeah.
But he was, you know what I'm saying? Dez was very, very physical of a player, and he wasn't a big like pop separator, but like you see some of the, not push off all the time, but you can get away with some push off certain. But he played through contact. He liked that contact. He liked bullying DBs on that front. But also, there's like people don't realize there's a returning punts for a little minute early on in his career, and you saw that Legette highlight. He was returning kicks as well at South Carolina. So I somebody saw name drop Dez one time on Twitter, and I was like, I could really see the Dez one, but I do like that Quan Bolden one too, just because of that physical nature as well. There, so I'm good with any of those comps in terms of just a physical wide receiver and playing bully ball like that.
Okay, so like I said, I mean, Dunc already alluded to it. I was going with AJ Brown, Dez Bryant, even though with the height, like we said, his height doesn't really hurt him because you see how he high points the ball and goes get it when it's in the air. So I definitely think he's an option at 33. I don't think it's a reach, but like we said, people in the chat are saying, is it schematically working for us? Is that the type of wide receiver that we need in this scheme underneath Dave Canales? But for me, it's a yes. Quan or Dunc, what you guys got, a yes at 33?
Yeah, I'm good with it. Depending on how stuff shakes out, there's other receivers that I put ahead of him, but I think realistically, he'll be on the board, and I think I wouldn't hate it. Some people probably think it's a reach, but I wouldn't hate it. I would see the vision, but I'm not mad at it.
Quan?
Yeah, I'm not mad at it either, man. I'm not mad at it.
Okay.
You see wide receiver one, Quan, from him? Year one or down the line?
Honestly, yeah, I do. I do think he could develop to be a wide receiver one right away. I mean, I don't know. It really just depends on where you land. But if, let's say, hypothetically speaking, he lands with us, I think so. I mean, obviously, we don't have no talent on our receiver roster. I mean, so yeah, I mean, yeah, he can definitely come in here and be a number one receiver, depending on who we go for in a free agency too.
Yeah.
Facts. So before we go into our next one, shout out our guy Dunc for joining us tonight, man. Definitely appreciate him pulling up to the channel. Definitely threw an idea at him, and he was like, "Why don't we talk wide receivers before the combine?" Next wide receiver, he just dropped a video, not even a full 24 hours, on Lad McConkey. He definitely talked about how ESPN is saying he's an option here at 33 on his channel. And I think he got a lot of noise based off of what he did at Senior Bowl. If you just looked at the practices, how he was routing every DB up, even in the game, it was just his route tree where people ask, can a particular wide receiver run every single route? This young man right here can run every single route, and he displayed it at the Senior Bowl. With his stats, it doesn't really scream big numbers, but he also didn't play a full year, if I'm not mistaken, at Georgia. So I'm going to read 2022 and 2023. In 2022, he had 58 receptions, 762 yards, and 7 touchdowns. This past year, he only had 30 receptions, 478 yards, and 2 touchdowns to go with 15.9 yards per catch. So after this particular highlight, we'll go ahead and break down Mr. McConkey.
Day long. This time he gets a catchable ball, wins at the line of scrimmage with his quickness, again lean, and look at the separation as they're trying to pass that off. There he is working a little inside release. Look at the head and shoulders to sell it. Gives you the separation. You got 10 yards. McConkey inside again. So now he's playing outside leverage. So just trying to take away the outside, and you let him cross your face. You can't do that.
Wow.
He caught that. Jeez.
All right, for me, for Lad McConkey, I'm gonna get my comparison out early on this one because we already have a wide receiver that kind of reminds me of him. He doesn't have the routes that I think Lad has, but just look at Adam Thielen, short-handed wide receiver that can get in the intermediate throws and can definitely be a reliable hands catcher. I also thought Julian Edelman as another comp for Lad McConkey. He was a short-handed wide receiver for Tom Brady. I do see CJ said Cooper Kupp. I like that one as well. And if you look at it, I don't think he was even projected before the Senior Bowl. Correct me wrong, fellas, if I'm wrong, to be a top first or second round. I think he was maybe bottom second round before the Senior Bowl, and I think he just skyrocketed up the draft boards. Am I correct? During the Senior Bowl?
The Senior Bowl definitely put the public on notice, but if you watch them on tape, bro,
yeah,
you can see the vision, man. You just kind of, I wasn't a man. I'm not gonna say I wasn't. I understood his skill set. Once I saw the film, it solidified it for me that I'm like, I'm on the train, bro. Like I think I put a tweet out on Twitter. I was like, all right, I'm on the train, man. Like I see the vision, you know.
I mean, for me, again, routes, like how he was able to just get separation by routes. And like they said, the head and shoulders, he was able to fake DBs out left and right in practice and in games. Even the one that he got overthrown, if he had a quarterback that could throw it in his lap, you don't know how far yak he was going to be able to get with that particular catch. For me, Lad McConkey can definitely be an option for Carolina. I don't want two of the same, meaning of the wide receivers on Carolina when you already have an Adam Thielen, but I love it. I definitely love what I was able to see during the Senior Bowl. And if he is available based off of what wide receiver we get in free agency, he's definitely an option on my board at number 33.
Well, I'm gonna start by saying this, man. I'm gonna give him a lot of praise, man. I do love he got some nice route running ability, man. Like, he can run real sharp routes. I love the way he uses the defender's leverage against them to kind of run his routes and beat the defenders as he's trying to beat their coverage. He has a great burst from line of scrimmage. I mean, creative in open field. To me, he reminds me of a Cole Beasley, man. I like him compared to Cole Beasley. I mean, I think he's really limited to playing the slot. And you mentioned Adam Thielen. We already kind of have that guy here with Adam Thielen. I mean, of course, he probably only got like 1, maybe 2 more years, but I don't know. I wouldn't reach for this guy right here at 33 because, I mean, I do think he is a slot guy, and then we already kind of have that. I'm looking for a wide receiver 1 right now. And I think Ladd McConkey could be like a number 3 option. Again, kind of like that slot guy. But that's no knock on him at all. I just don't see it as like a scheme. Well, he could fit the scheme, but at the same time, it wouldn't really make sense because we kind of already got that guy. And we kind of looking for something else. You know what I mean? We're looking for somebody to take the top off, you know what I'm saying, stretch the field, and just good with intermediate routes. Not saying he's not good with the intermediate routes, but we need something, we need a number 1. That's basically what I'm trying to say, man. But I do like this guy, man. I like his route running ability, and I think he can be effective depending on where you go.
All right, Dunc.
I ain't gonna lie, man. Well, first of all, it's Ladd McConkey.
Oh, McConkey.
Yeah.
Yeah, we butcher names over here, man.
Look, Doug was calling me Buck or something. What you call me, bro? What you call, bro? This man. I thought that was some kind of Texas slang. I was like, I was just rolling with it. This man was calling me Buck or something like that. I don't know what.
And I told Quan, and Quan was like, Doug, his name is Dunc. He was like, why are you calling him Buck? I said, I guess I just had a brain fart. I'm like, I hope this man don't think, I'm over here tripping, man.
Nah, you good. I thought it was some slang. That's all I was rolling with. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, Dunc is in my Twitter name. I'm like, how you? But nah, it's whatever. Nah, McConkey though, man. I'm a be a McConkey guy, man. For real. There's only a few wide receivers that I would take over him at 33, and we would have to get lucky for those guys to fall to us for me to take them over McConkey. Now, I know you guys are going to say it seems repetitive, and I know the player comps are every white receiver that you can imagine, but I got a comp that's a little bit outside the box, because just because he's white don't mean he got to play like every white receiver. My comp is Doug Baldwin. I think that he's not super fast, but he's very crafty. He can get you yards at the catch. That seems like he's stealing it. He seems like he shouldn't be getting that yards at the catch because he doesn't seem to be blazing fast, but he can make plays. He's clutch. He's very quarterback friendly because he can navigate zone coverage. A lot of nuances at the top of his routes, like Quan said, with winning with leverage. And when you win with leverage, it's those stems and sticks. You might release inside, square up, and then break inside. You saw it in the one-on-ones. The dude, he was running the outside breaking route. The defender was shading outside. He squared him up, gave him a little swim move at the top of the route, and broke him off. He wins that way too. And against off coverage, I think it's easy money. Against press coverage, some physical, longer corners can give him trouble, but throw him in a slot, throw him in motion, get those guys to be able to get their hands off of him, and he will be a very, very good wide receiver. He's the best route runner in the draft, in my opinion. Yes. I think he goes with Bryce Young perfectly. I think Bryce Young is a very anticipatory type of thrower. He needs guys that are going to be dependable and be in the spots that they're going to be in, because Bryce Young likes to throw the spots. He's not going to throw it to men. Bryce Young's going to throw it to spots. If you're going to get open and get there, the ball will be there, and he will consistently hit you in the face. You're not going to see Bryce Young airmailing if like they do in the Senior Bowl did, if Ladd McConkey breaks somebody off and spins them around. Bryce is not going to miss McConkey on these intermediate routes, because that's where Bryce is going to braid his butter. I like McConkey. He can play a little bit on the outside. In my opinion, he's not going to win there consistently. His money is going to be made in that slot, which is why I say Doug Baldwin is a better comp in my opinion there. But I really love this dude's game. You said the production wasn't there, but he has had some injuries, and just Georgia isn't a very pass-happy offense. A stat that I like to kind of look at to kind of neutralize, but like put everybody on the even playing field is yards per route run, because some guys go to running teams and some guys are in wide open passing offenses like LSU. if you look at yards per route run, meaning how many yards do you get on any given pass play, whether the ball goes to you or not. In terms of that, McConkey was fourth out of this whole wide receiver class that's coming out with over 3 yards per route run, which is a pretty good number for a guy coming from a running team. You know what I'm saying? But I think he's if anybody fits better than any of these guys there, I think he's probably the best fit out of the second round options for us. It may not be overwhelming, but time and time again, we see dudes that separate, translate to the league easy. He may not have the ceiling as these other guys, but you're gonna get the same lad McConkey from jump. That as soon as we get out, he's gonna be the best route runner on the team, maybe the best route runner in franchise history. It may be a reach there, but I don't know. But he's going to be consistent and dependable right away. We need guys that can come in and make an impact right away. There's no projection. He's got this upside if everything goes right. Day one, McConkey is going to be able to get open and run routes again in the slot. And I think we need that type of guy. We need to stop trying to go for home runs and going on upside and gambling on traits like we did with a guy like Mingo or DJ Johnson. We need guys that have good tape, play good ball, and can come in and be an asset for the team. I think Ladd does that right away. I love Ladd's game. He's not amazing after the catch, but like I said, Doug Baldwin is my comp for him, and I'm a really big Ladd guy.
Yeah, I actually like that comp. And it's kind of funny you said we didn't have to give him a white comparison. Like,
everybody do that, bro.
That was actually funny, man. I liked it. Hey, Monet, let me read your comment. You said, hey, I have a question. Did you guys discuss Troy Franklin, A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, Roman Wilson, Jalen Polk, or Brandon Rice? We mentioned 2 of those. We just did 5 that we all could agree on that we thought would definitely be an option at 33. We're actually going to talk about one name up here for our last draftee for right now. Also, Mike Wynn said all of the wide receiver ones are going to be gone in first round. Yes and no. Yes and no.
It's a stacked class, man. It's a
long class. You never know.
The day one wide receiver ones will. There's some guys that have some wide receiver one upside there.
So I will say this: we have to get out of that because look what Puka Nacua was able to do. Puka Nacua, nobody ever thought he would be able to, regardless of Cooper Kupp being injured, really outproduce Cooper Kupp on that team. So you never know. It depends on scheme. Again, scheme is a big part. Look at Sean McVay's scheme. It really fits better for Puka Nacua than it does Cooper Kupp. So you never know what type of wide receiver you get. CJ Yomi talking about, no, Doug is bad with names. Mike Wynn again said you need by round 2 a wide receiver, round 3 O-line or DB. Same for rounds 4 through 6. CJ said, Dunc/Buck. I'm glad you said Bryce throw to the spots. Might win again. Wide receiver 1 speed will only come in free agency. And no problem at all, Monet, man. So our last
real quick, going to CJ's comment, he said he glad Dunc pointed out that Bryce liked to throw the spots. And Dunc, you brought up a great point with that. It actually really changed my perspective just now, man. Like once you get out of that break, that thing is going to hit you right in the face mask. And you bring a good point because this guy has great route running ability. And then, like you said, he's going to be who he is right now. He's already showed you that's who he is. And that's going to translate to the NFL immediately. And then now I'm thinking about it now. I'm saying I'm going away from the pick because of Adam Thielen. But again, I think that could be a benefit as well because you're learning from a guy who's been in the league for however long he's been in the league, man. And I think they have like that similar play style, but who knows, man? Maybe he could be better than Adam Thielen. And what better way to develop than to learn under Adam Thielen? So I don't know. Y'all bring up a great point with that, man.
And Thielen's not a long-term option either, man. Like he's 33, 34, something like that. We got 1 more year on his contract, 2 more years maybe.
1 more.
Yeah.
And he was rumbling and complaining a little bit, talking about this wasn't the plan. All right, we can plan to ship you about the paint if you want to, man. You can go be a wide receiver 3 somewhere else, and we can keep it pushing. I'll take Ladd McConkey over Thielen. I mean, I understand we need a vet presence, and I love Thielen. I'm a big Thielen guy. My fantasy football team is named after him, but I'm not going to let a guy like Adam Thielen, who's not the long-term answer, move me off of taking a guy like Ladd who has way more juice than him, just in terms of that. And like I said, my big point with that, Quan, was just thinking about Bryce. I mean, some of these guys just in the microscope, yeah, I do like some other than, and Ladd may not be my ultimate favorite as far as long term, but just what we need and what he could do with Bryce. And I think the skill set, I think the fit is there. And time again, if you can separate, man, like you're going to translate. Jaden Reed, Tank Dell. I was low on Tank Dell last year, bro. I learned that lesson the hard way because it was small. It don't matter, bro. In the right scheme, if you can separate, you could be productive and you're going to translate in the league. Jaden Reed went down to the Senior Bowl last year, dominated one-on-ones, was getting separation consistently, ended up being a second rounder after being a third, probably going into that, ended up being a great receiver for the Packers. He's one of my favorite receivers in the league already as a young dude. But we see time and time again, dudes that can separate are always going to be able to have a spot. It's like a three-point shooter in the NBA. You may not have no other skill set, but if you can catch and shoot that long ball, bro, somebody's going to be able to find some PT for you and find a role for you, and you're going to be able to translate. Shooters are going to shoot, you know.
Facts. Hey, shout out to our guy, over there at 2020. If you have not subscribed to 2020, definitely does some great content, dropping videos by the day, by the hour over there. So if you have not subscribed to 2020, definitely head over to his channel as well, man. Monet said, if we trade Burns for a first, we in business. Two fans in the stand said Bryce had a lot of throws where he was expecting someone to be there and was not correct.
And it'd be embarrassing too, and it'd be incomplete because it just looked like he's just a horrible quarterback. But it's like, bro, dude's not running where they're supposed to be at, man.
Monet said absolutely like Thielen a lot. We do. Mike Wynn said if we tag Burns, he's worth 2 first rounds, or he plays fire us. It's a win-win. Again, we're going to talk about that at the end of the game as well too. We did talk about Tez Walker in the beginning. That was our first wide receiver. So we did talk about him. He was the very first wide receiver we talked about. As you know, me being a Tar Heel, I had to go ahead and get that out the way. And it might win. I think Burns' contract is going to be full of incentives. What did I tell you, Dunc?
Yeah.
What did I say? What did I say?
What did I
say? I'm telling you, I already got the game plan for it, man. So, again, if you have just joined, definitely go ahead and hit the like button for us. Share the stream. We're already past 1 hour. We're about to show our last draftee, and then we're going to go into NFL free agents and then give you our draftee that we would like to compare We'll give you one draftee and one NFL free agent that we'd like Carolina to sign during this period. So our last one is A.D. Mitchell out of Texas. He did come also via of Alabama through the transfer portal. So this year's stats when he was at Texas, he had 55 receptions, 845 yards, 11 touchdowns. Average per catch was 15.4. So we're going to pull his highlight up and we'll go ahead and break it down.
Take care of the football down here. They're going to throw it on first down. They launch it one-on-one.
Georgia has played during the Kirby Smart era. And a back shoulder throw and a catch and a touchdown. A.D. Mitchell. The ball was. Never got his eyes on the ball till too late. Perfect placement by Stetson Bennett.
And that's A.D. Mitchell. Real quick, since people are asking about Tez, can we just give a quick 30-second, fellas, on what we thought about Tez? For me, it's a no. Not in number 33. I like him. But I definitely think if the board does fall and we do double up on wide receiver, we can possibly get him either third round. That's what I got. Quan or Dunc.
Yeah,
it's also go ahead, Dunc.
No, I'll say for the full spiel, you can just watch on the replay. But I think late day 2, for Tez. I think he needs to fine tune his game a little bit as a receiver before he's able to make a consistent. Be a consistent threat on the team, but I think in the right system at wide receiver 3, day 1, he'll be all right. He'll be able to take the top off of a defense.
Yeah, man. I like his speed. I mean, we talked about his speed, man. Running a 4.4. Drake May's best target, man. I obviously a deep threat. Got some solid hands, but my knock on him, and I think he really just needs to improve his route tree. His route running is not that impressive to me. I don't really like the way he get in and out of his breaks. He rounds off a lot of his routes, and he solely relies on his speed to get past the coverage. I would like to see him utilize more route running ability to create separation.
Yes, sir. Let me read Mike Wins, and then we'll go into AD Mitchell. An incentive Latin contract for Burns saves salary cap because it's a lower base, say 20 to 22 million per year base, but 300 to 400K per set, for example. We're gonna get into that. We definitely gonna get into that, Mike. So for me, I wasn't even gonna do a highlight. I told Quan I was like, I got 4. I didn't feel like doing AD Mitchell, but it was late last night. I was watching film, and I was like, okay. I said, okay, I see something. And for me, a dark horse at number 33 will be AD Mitchell for me. I like what I saw. It's more of, he's another, to me, he's not as a physical runner as Legette, but he is also very aggressive with the ball in the air, if that makes sense. Difficult catches, as we saw when he played at Georgia, when they were in the playoff against Alabama. He called a very 50-50 ball. And if you even look at the game when they play Alabama this year, when he was at Texas, he really showed that I'm that, you know what, I'm that man. Like, I'm that dude. I can do everything that you need me to do. And just like what we said with Tez Walker was Drake May's number 1 target, that's the same thing for AD Mitchell. AD Mitchell was Ewers. Am I saying his name right? Because I know y'all say I butcher names. Am I saying his name right?
Brock Ewers.
Yeah, Brock Ewers out of Texas, the quarterback. He was his number 1 target. So for me, I definitely think he's an option more than Ted's. With Franklin, again, it really depends on his schemes. But we have to look at what Dave Canals is able to use. Huh?
I said Brock. It was Quinn. Austin got me in there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Quinn Ears. Quinn Ears, you're right. But when you look at it, Dave Canals is able to have big body wide receivers. What big body wide receiver do we have on this team? Just look at when he was at Seattle. You had DK Metcalf. You do have a Tyler Lockett. Who was the other? You had a Doug Baldwin, which is not too big, but he wasn't a small wide receiver. But then when you look at where he was able to do at Tampa Bay, you had a Mike Evans, a Godwin, a Palmer, and you had Brandt. No, none of those options were small. So I think we also have to look at the scheme that he's bringing, but he also has to look, like you said, we're going to do what Bryce is good at. If Bryce needs big body wide receivers, we're going to get big body wide receivers. If Bryce needs people like McConkey, then we're going to get people like him. But again, I do think AD Mitchell is an option. I'm trying to think my comp. I went blank on my comp. But once I know Quan and Dunc talk about comps, I'll get my comp after they get done. Go ahead, fellas.
I personally don't have a comp. I can't. I went a little bit blank. If you give me a little bit of time, I probably could. I don't know if it will come to me tonight. I probably have to watch. I'm waiting on some more film. I got one more. I'm waiting on the all 22 for to watch a little bit of like him some more. But okay. I did watch the Alabama game from this year, and obviously it's Georgia tape. My thing on AD, man, and I know a lot of people are high on him. I'm not as high as most. And he another guy he's tall, and he's a little bit rarely though, man. He's thin, and I want my bigger guys to be able to be a little bit. I hate to call grown men thick, but thicker.
Whoa.
But I want him to be have a little bit more on it, you know what I'm saying? But how does he win? He wins on a 50-50 ball. He's going to be a red zone back shoulder guy off rip. Like that's bar none. There's not too many guys that are going to be able to out jump him on the jump ball in the red zone. And has some deceptive long speed. He can get deep. Now, I think he's a little bit like he wants to have those little jukes and subtleties at the top of routes, but I think he wastes a lot of motion for a guy his size. It benefits him. Like, he's a little bit smoother with his route running for a tall guy than you would expect. But I think sometimes he can throw too many head fakes, and you can kind of telegraph what he's gonna do based off of him trying to do head fakes and leans and stuff a little bit too much. And that may have to do because he's so tall. But like I said, day one, he's going to be a 50-50 guy. Like I said, I'm not as big on him because physical coverage, you can get up under him, man, and you can really, really disrupt his timing and what the things he can do in terms of just going across the middle, crossing routes, things like that. But like Doug said, taller receiver. We see the what Mike Evans did. He's not really Mike Evans like in terms of just being able to get behind the defense, but he can get deep down the field one-on-one. It's somebody that Bryce can just say, F it, 80 down there somewhere. Let me throw it up to him. And we don't have that guy on our roster right now. And like you said, we don't have a big body guy like that. And it's been, since KB, Funches really didn't play. He played like that sometimes, but we really didn't have a big 50-50 guy like that since probably KB. So it's good to be able to have that safety net there. If nobody's open, this is somebody who can throw it up and force it to, not force it, but from a negative connotation, but force it to, like, okay, hey, if he's one-on-one, I'm going to give him a chance because he's either going to get interfered with or he's going to go up and catch the ball. So I see why people like that. The negatives on him also as well. Sometimes he can be a little bit disinterested in the game when he's not getting the ball. You can see him lollygagging, jogging. He's not really interested in blocking as well. You can see it in the CFB champion, and you want your receivers to be able to demand the ball too. You want them to be mad about it, but you can see it in the college football championship. He was getting pissed off about not getting the ball, and that pops up more often than people think. It's not just because the stakes were high and he wants to be a competitor. It happens a lot, and I don't want you disinterested in what's going on because you're not getting the proper touches that you expect. So, and that's more of a mentality thing. I don't know the young man, so I'm not going to knock him like that, and I don't really know him background-wise. I just go by what I've seen in the games where sometimes he can be a little bit pouty when things aren't going his way in terms of being involved. But he has all the talent in the world. I think he has upside for a wide receiver one down the line. I don't think that he would be my type of guy. This is my opinion. He could be a spot in our team, but I just don't see being able to play through contact. Like I said, it's huge for me. It's huge for me. And I just don't see him being able to do that. He's not the play strength wise. So that's kind of why I knock Adonai. But I don't have a comp. So,
Quan, what you got?
Now, this prospect right here, man, if he's at 33, personally, I'm pulling the trigger, man. I'm a pull the trigger right away. Dan Morgan mentioned this offseason that he was looking for dogs. So I think you got it right here. A.D. Mitchell, he plays like a dog. You know what I mean? So he got great acceleration off the line of scrimmage, and he's one of the few prospects that has a full route tree. He can run every route. So his development with route running in the NFL, I think it'll translate, and then I don't think it'll have to be too much developing there as far as learning the route tree. This is a guy who got long arms. He's lanky, 6'4". I think he's 6'4", 190. So a very lanky kind of body, but he can adjust.
6'4", 196.
6'4", 196. So yeah, man, just like a tall, lanky prospect, man. He can adjust to the catch. Got great body control. Got a great catch radius. He got coordinated hands, man. So I think he could translate to the NFL. And he also is another guy who just got that breakaway speed. And I think he did pretty good against top corners that's in the NFL right now. I think he had a pretty good showdown against Christian Gonzalez, who was a first-round pick with the New England Patriots. So I think AD, I like him a lot, man. Again, I would pull the trigger right there. Obviously a guy who can stretch the field, a guy you can get it to in space. You can get him some screen passes here and there, man. I think he could thrive with that. So I like this guy a lot. I would pull the trigger immediately. My only knock on him, man, he does have an injury history, and that does scare me. So I don't know how exactly he'll translate, especially with that lanky frame. And then he don't really have special team experience. You would like your receivers to kind of have that experience with special teams just so they can develop into the NFL better. And you also have questions about him being able to beat NFL press. So can he beat press coverage when guys getting up under you? So that's my only knock on him. But I really do like this guy. I would take him at 33.
Did you have a comp?
I would compare him to probably Devontae Smith, if anything, just because of their lankiness and then their ability to kind of make acrobatic catches and stuff.
Okay. Dunc, you got anything else before we go into NFL wide receiver free agency?
Nah. If I had to rank the guys that we talked about, I would probably go and
Are you gonna give your answer away already?
Oh, we're gonna rank them later?
You remember we're gonna grab one from the draft and then grab a receiver off the wide receiver free agency. But if you want
to for us, I guess that would be different. My just neutral draft, I would put McConkey, Troy, Legette, Adonai, Tez. That's just my ranking as far as how I feel in the
I like that.
These guys.
I like that.
Troy and Legette. I'm gonna have to watch some more tape on Legette, and the combine is gonna be big for me with him as well. I want to see how he looks on that turf and running some more routes a little bit closer in that little controlled environment and stuff to see how natural he looks there, because he was hurt at the Senior Bowl as well, from what I understand and what I heard from people. So he was still competing there, but that's my ranking for them right now. Like I said, it's early in the process, so it's subject to change, but that's probably where I put them.
Okay, I like that one. Quan, you got one, or is you just going it's too early as well?
I mean, as of right now, man, what I would rank them, my number one, obviously, I would pick AD. AD would be my number one. Legette would probably be number 2. Troy, number 3. Ladd, number 4. And then Tez Walker at number 5 out of these prospects.
Okay. All right, so we're about to show the wide receiver list. As everybody knows, T. Higgins is at the top. You got Michael Pittman, number 2, Mike Evans, Hollywood Brown, Calvin Ridley, Darnell Mooney, Gabe Davis, Odell Beckham, Tyler Boyd, and Curtis Samuels. Those are your top 10 wide receivers that are going to be free agents here, or already free agents because the season has ended and looking for new teams. Before we came on, I was telling Quan, one person that I think is out the gate now is T. Higgins. I think reports are coming out that he's supposed to be franchise tag. I don't know if they're going to do a transition tag where they're going to tag him and try to see if they can get a pick or whatever with him, but he's going to get some type of tag whenever that opportunity to tag a player does come available. For me, the list, realistic, I'm going to give 2 names that I really think Carolina has a chance to sign, and that is Gabe Davis and Calvin Ridley. For me, number 1 with Calvin Ridley, if you really look at it, he's fresh, but he also really showed that he was essential to Trevor Lawrence's upcoming year. He missed a year of football last year. We know it's gambling and all that, but it could have been he needed to ram up his body because he still can take the top off of a defense. And we saw that firsthand when he was at Atlanta. We saw what Calvin Ridley was able to do to D-Jack when Chin was there. Just look at whenever we did have Matt Rule and basically underneath Matt Rule both years before he got suspended. So for me, I really think Calvin Ridley can be that over-the-top type wide receiver that we could add. I mean, he is going to have other suitors as well, but then that does give me Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis has always had to compete for touches with Stephon Diggs. Outside of Diggs, now they have two tight ends and Dalton Knott. And is it Dalton Knott? Or I'm going to say Knott. I know his last name, but I know Dalton Kincaid.
Dawson
Knott. And I know Dalton Kincaid and tight ends. So really and truly, do you want to stay in a situation or you want to make your money and show that you're in wide receiver number 1 with Gabe Davis? If he does come to Carolina, we have seen when corners do double team Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis can go get his own. But again, there's only one ball and you have to compete with other weapons that they have. Now you also have James Cook that's coming up as a possible top 10 running back. So I really think those 2 wide receivers for me are true legit options for Carolina to get outside of everybody wanting T. Higgins. but I do think Gabe Davis and I do think Calvin Ridley are two options that we could really look at.
You want to Quan? Yeah, I mean, I like Gabe. I'm not as married to him as it seemed like a lot of momentum is building for him amongst the fan base because he seemed like a realistic option. And obviously, Dan Morgan spent that time in Buffalo, and I think he was on the team when they drafted him. So I could see the vision there. Definitely a deep threat for sure. My two guys, we picked two guys from the free agent list.
I mean, you can do whatever. You had 2, 3, 1, whichever one. If you need to pull the list back up, I'll pull it back up for you.
Real quick. It is real quick.
All right.
Obviously the dream is T. But if he gets franchise tag, it could be tag and trade. You know, it doesn't mean it's over. We've seen strange things happen. We witnessed the Josh Norman fiasco firsthand. And that when the clock struck midnight, we just released him and he hit the market. We got nothing for him. So these franchise situations can get weird because Jamar Chase is going to destroy the bank when he gets paid. He's one of the best receivers in the league. He's going to be coming up next year for a contract. So they can't pay everybody. And we know Joe Burr is making $250 million. But I like the Calvin Ridley, man. I like Calvin. I think he'd be less than $20 million. You'll be able to get a 1,000-yard receiver that can really do some things and be productive. He's a great route runner. So I've already talked about that, being able to be in the spots he's supposed to be in and be dependable there. I like Calvin Ridley as an option, probably my favorite option. That's the most realistic.
What you got, Quan?
Hey, real quick, man, shout out to the Unnecessary Bluntness, man. If you are not subscribed, man, go ahead and subscribe to my boy Dunc, man. He's doing great work over there. I did get a chance to catch your recent when you talked about the free agents, and you brought up a great point about Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown is really the most realistic target I would see us going after in the free agent. Pretty cheap option, not really like the splash move, the glam, and all that. But at the same time, I do feel like it would be effective if we do snag him. I mean, again, we're looking for somebody with speed, somebody that can get yards at the catch. And I think Hollywood Brown has shown you that time after time with Baltimore and with Arizona. So I think that would be more of a realistic option, especially if you want to kind of save some money in the free agency and get like an effective upgrade at wide receiver position. I think Hollywood Brown would be that guy that we would snag. And yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that. He's still young. I mean, he still could develop and build a rapport with Bryce Young. So yeah, I think we could snag Hollywood Brown for the cheap.
Okay. So who wants to go first with one from the draft and one from the list of free agents?
I'll do it. The dream would be T. Higgins and Troy. Just to have that big body guy, then you can let Troy come in and be a wide receiver number 2 and be fast. And we wouldn't be able to fully use him as wide receiver 1 and take the top off per se. As well to his full ability right away. I still think that he would be an asset, be it going deep. But the dream would be that realistic. I still think Calvin Ridley is fairly realistic. I would go Calvin Ridley and probably Legette to combo them up. But if I had to just that would be my 1-and-1. But any kind of big body guy, I'm going to pair them with another slot guy. Like I said, I think Ladd is a catch-all. He'll fit with anybody. But if I had in my best case scenarios, those are the duos that I would go with.
Okay. Quan?
Yeah, I definitely agree, man. T. Higgins is definitely the dream. But, again, just kind of being realistic, I'm going to just go back to Hollywood Brown. I'm going to snag him out of the free agency, and I'm going to also pair him with Xavier Legette. Legette is that more bigger body, a little bit taller receiver. So if you bring him in there, he'll handle the dirty work for you. Again, we talked about him being an angry runner. He'll handle the dirty work for you, and then you also got to worry about Hollywood Brown. So that's a lot of speed that you got to worry about on both sides. So I think that'll be a good pair to bring in.
Okay. So I'm going to go with Quan. I like Legette, but I'm going to switch to speedy receiver with Calvin Ridley. I really would love a Legette, Calvin Ridley, Adam Thielen, and Jonathan Mingo wide receiver room. Right there, based off of what everybody's complaining about, separation. Adam Thielen can get double teamed. but you can't double team and then have Calvin Ridley one-on-one and he can take it over the top. You can't have Xavier Legette be with a slot corner because he's going to overpower him because of the type of runner that he is. So I think if you really match up everything based off of that particular scenario on my end, I think you're winning. You're not going to have to worry about, oh, we don't have separation guys. We don't have another option outside of Adam Thielen. So I think Quan's scenario and even Dunc's scenario, it really works. It just depends on what Dan Morgan can do. But I do know we're going to have some dogs in that room. And that's one thing Dan Morgan definitely said, even in our intro. He wants wide receivers or he wants dogs like Steve Smith. And trust me, that room is definitely going to be dog material. And then you're definitely going to have Steve Smith come in there, I know, with his coaching staff and talk to the wide receivers just like he did with Jonathan Mingo. So, again, the work is just starting. And I think we have the proper pieces in place. But now it's time to get to work and stop talking about it. Last topic of the night, Brandt Tilis. Can Brandt Tilis make it work? And what I mean by that is a lot of Panther fans on Twitter, a lot of Panther fans are worried that we won't be able to bring Frankie Louisville back. We won't be able to sign Brian Burns to a contract. And then we also have to remember our Pro Bowler and Derek B actually, producing this year and showing that he's a top 5 D tackle. For me, I think it can be done. And we were laughing about because Mike Wynn was saying, what about, incentives? I've been saying this for the longest. If you look at what Chris Jones' contract was whenever he set out that first game, his contract was based off of incentives. It wasn't really a high number contract because he set out, he missed a game. Most of his contract dealt with getting sacks, making it to the Pro Bowl, and then winning the Super Bowl. And if Brandt Tilis can bring that piece of paper and put that in front of Brian Burns and say, hey, we're going to get you help, but if you can do X, Y, and Z, you meet these particular requirements for you to get your money, sign the dotted line right here. With Frankie Louisville, I was loving seeing the news that, hey, we already been talking with him. Possibly something can happen during the NFL Combine. Good. But also, I think Derrick Brown has to be taken care of. You do not allow a hog molly, a all-pro, not all-pro, a Pro Bowler that had over 100 tackles at the D tackle position just walk free. And that's one thing Carolina has a problem with. We allow too much homegrown talent to walk free and produce at other particular teams. And I think that needs to stop now. You have a player in Dan Morgan, like he said, I remember whenever we were waving towels when he was here. He remembers when the fans were loud, and I'm surprised he didn't even bring up 2015. I think 2015 was a better atmosphere than 2003 when he brought up. And you have a person that knows what keep pounding is. He looks like he was upset that he even had to do an interview. I don't know if it was nerves or what. But, he just looked awkward sitting there because he knows the pressure that is on him. But I think he's up for the challenge because, again, he learned with the Seattle Seahawks, regardless of Scott Fitterer being there. He was director of personnel. He was able to draft players. Then he learned from a particular GM that could have stayed at Carolina and Brandon Beane. So I'm just looking forward to Dan Morgan and Brandt Tilis getting their hands dirty and shutting most of our fans up and shutting myself up because, again, we're tired of the losing seasons. We know it's going to take a process, but show us something. Go ahead, fellas.
CJ said, do I think they're still wearing out the word dog? 1,000%. 1,000%. The word dog it's been beat to the ground, bro. Like,
oh yeah.
But I get the vibe, but no, I agree. I mean, if you can find a way to keep all three, do it. I mean, we got Brandt Tilis in this thing. I've been calling him Marty Bird, you know what I'm saying, with the tricky accounting, you know what I'm saying? Like make it work, you know what I'm saying? And from a player's perspective, and I know it would probably ensue chaos, but if I'm Derrick Brown, I'm holding out, dog. I put it out there on Twitter. I would hold out. Like, don't play in my face like you did Brian Burns, trying to make me be a team player and all this and that, and then try to bring me in because we're building something special just for the coaching staff to flop. And now Brian Burns had an underwhelming season. He lost all the leverage that he had prior to the year because y'all sold him on this brotherhood stuff when we haven't had a great team since he's been drafted in the league, man. Like, you got to look out for yourself, dog. And Derek Brown has the same agent as DJ Moore. Why this is important? DJ Moore did not play on his 5th-year option. DJ Moore got a contract after his 4th season, which is where Derek Brown sits right now. It wasn't no lengthy holdout. It just happened. It came out of nowhere right before the receiver market went crazy. It ended up being a smart move long term, but I think they forced the issue there. His agent is very crafty. His name is really escaping my mind. I know it because he's been in the game so long. He's AB. He was AB's agent. He was TO's agent. Drew Rosenhaus. Drew Rosenhaus is a very heady agent. He was TO's agent back in the day.
Right.
Like I said, he was AB's agent for a while until he fired him. He knows the game, man, and he's going to want to get Derek paid. He knows that you got to strike where the iron is hot. And like saying his stock is never going to be higher. So you might as well go get that bag now because you see how they did Brian Burns. His stock took a hit, and it ain't all sunshine and roses now. Now we're in a weird spot. So if I'm there, I'm going to get that back. We've already heard reports that they're trying to work out something with Louisville. For whatever reason, they couldn't come to an agreement last year. I'm curious to know where they are. We haven't really gotten any kind of perspective on the numbers, but apparently they couldn't come to an agreement last year. I actually have to give Scott Fitter credit for wanting to get that deal done last year because that would have been a smart time to do it. But it would have been a smart time for Frankie too because he had a career year last year, a productive year this year, but not as good as last year. But I think a lot of it had to do with Shaq. But with Shaq returning, for Frankie not having to be the long-term middle linebacker, he can roam around, play on the edge, blitz, do whatever he has to do, and just kind of not freelance, but lurk around and be that playmaker that he really is. I think that we'll see more of the Frankie Louisville we saw last year than the 2023 season that we just went through with. And as far as Brian, man, Brian's my guy. It's a very sticky situation. I know it's very polarizing in his fan base. Some want to trade him, some want to pay him, some want to just cut him just because he's holding out or whatever, and people think he's not worth it. Some people think he's trash. I'm somewhere in the middle. I think he's an upper tier pass rusher. I think that you don't let homegrown talent at premium positions leave your franchise. I also think that he would have his trade value was at his highest back then. So literally you have to strike with the iron's hot. Either pay him or pay the guy or whatever. I think right now you've done enough or you've done too much to the point that you almost have to pay him. I don't think you're going to get in return what you want for him and to make it worth it, because once you hear them offers that are low balls compared to the 2 first-round picks and a third you're going to get from the Rams, you're going to really be like, dang, we should have took that deal. So I think they need to make it work, man, because we don't – it's going to be hard to immediately replace a guy at a premium position because think about it. We drafted Brian Burns, 15, something like that? He was – I mean, granted, they played him out of position, but he wasn't that bona fide dude that we wanted him to be until what? Midway through year 2, year 3, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to take time for whoever you replace him with to kind of really come on unless you get some vets in free agent. And like Huff is out there, Reddick's on the trade block, so maybe you can make some things shake. But I just think that it's counterproductive to get rid of homegrown talent at premium positions.
Facts. Quan?
I mean, yeah, y'all couldn't have said it any better, man. I mean, with Brian Burns, I give him hell a lot, man. But at the same time, CJ made a good point. I mean, look at what we have to replace him. I mean, you get rid of him, then, you know what I'm saying, we're looking at another situation like how we let go of Hassan Reddick, and we were missing that position bad. So you do the same thing with Burns. I think we're going to definitely regret that. We definitely going to feel that missed presence, man. But I don't know. I think they can work something out with him. I'm hoping they can. At least the fan in me is hoping that we can get something done with Brian Burns, man. But first and foremost, man, I think we got to pay Derek Brown, man. Derek Brown put up a record-breaking season, and I mean, you're not gonna find that nowhere else, man. That's hard to find. A solid deep tackle that can really dominate the game, especially in the run game. We need that. We need to keep that here. Like Dunc said, man, you got to keep some homegrown talent in-house. I mean, these guys built chemistry with each other. Obviously, they made a name for themselves in the league, you know, being in the top defense. So keep these guys around. I don't think we should trade Burns. I don't think we should cut him. I don't think we should do none of that, man. I think we should come to an agreement. I don't think we should pay him $30 million. I don't know what they're trying to pay him. I heard rumors that, you know, he was trying to get $30 million. I don't think he's worth that. But I'm hoping they can come to like a mutual, you know, agreement. If not, man, hopefully we can at least get something out of him. But I'm hoping he can stay, man. But yeah, I would say we got to get that done. Got to pay Derrick Brown, and of course, I'm glad to hear that they're doing something with Luvu, man, because that was kind of concerning. I don't know if he declined the offer the first year or what, but definitely want to keep this group together. I mean, obviously, you got a top 5 defense, so. Yeah, it's important for us to keep this unit together. I'm hoping they can get it together with their contracts and stuff. I don't really get into the contract numbers and all that, but hey, it is what it is, man. Let's get it done.
Yes, sir, man. So that is it for tonight, man. We definitely appreciate Dunc from Unnecessary Bluntness pulling up on us, man. Definitely showing us some love. Definitely giving us his insight before the NFL Combine at the end of this month of February, talking about a couple of options at number 33, and definitely letting you guys know here what some of his options would be at wide receiver. So don't go ahead and tell the people what you got coming up on your channel, and definitely shout the channel out one more time, man.
I got a lot coming up on the channel, man. I probably way too much than what I have time for being a one-man band, but the show must go on. But plenty of draft content, man. Got my top 10 wide receiver video coming out this week. I got a video trying to talk about the differences between the tier 2 wide receivers. So a little bit what we talked about tonight, but I'm going to add a little bit more names in there, probably like Xavier Worthy. God, my mind just went blank. Brian Thomas probably will throw in there, Keon Coleman as well, because just in case they fall. So I have that. I got another mock draft maybe this week, probably end up being next week. I'm doing Panthers news and stuff as well. Maybe a live stream in there. Then I got some fun content that I have a series that I'm going to work on that I'm not sure how it's going to hit. In my mind, it's a phenomenal idea. We'll see what the algorithm and the people think. That's really all that matters. But I think it's a very, very interesting idea. It's a hypothetical. That's all the hint I can really give. It's a certain hypothetical about this team and just where things could go. But a lot of exciting things, man. Unnecessary Bluntness at UB Sports Talk is where it is on YouTube. You can search @ now. So it's at UB Sports Talk, because I'm just like y'all. Sometimes I can't remember how many N's or C's are in unnecessary, so my spelling ain't always there. So, and it's my brand. But UB Sports Talk on YouTube, Dunc on Demand on Twitter. I'm everywhere, man. I'm always on it.
Yes, sir, man. Definitely appreciate it. And my co-host Quan, you guys already know where Quan at, but I'm gonna let Quan go ahead and shout out the partner channel and what he got cooking up over there at the Panthers Experience with Uncle Quan.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate you having me on as always, Doug, man. Definitely appreciate you, Dunc, for coming on, man. Always bringing that knowledge and always bringing great points, man. So we definitely appreciate you bringing that to What's Up, Doug. Obviously, guys, you can find me on YouTube at the Panthers Experience, Uncle Quan. It's a long name, but, pretty simple. The Panthers Experience, Uncle Quan. I'm doing another film breakdown on Dave Canales and how he called up a game against that Detroit Lions defense. So we're going to talk about that next on the channel. I got that in the works, taking notes and stuff like that. So, yeah, y'all be on the lookout for that, man. But, yeah, we do a lot of on-the-ground stuff, man, training camp, going to the games and stuff like that. Basically, of course, the film breakdown. And, yeah, man, we just doing the damn thing, man.
Yes, sir, man. So as we always say before we close out, stay blessed, stay safe. One love. We out.
One love.